We are back with another episode of the Do As I Say, Not As I Did podcast. And as always, the name kind of explains everything. We're giving you advice based on everything we did wrong the first time. And I did a lot wrong the first time. Each week I bring on founders, investors, product experts, technology futurists, sales gurus, just about anyone who is really smart and can help us work out how to build a great business. And then together we answer the questions you sent through about what's going on in your lives and in your businesses. So if you do have questions or you're trying to put out fires, and my guess is that if you're in a startup, you are definitely trying to put out fires, send them through to us and we'll workshop them on the next podcast. So send them through to podcast@joelditrapani.com. You would have thought that I would learn that that is a hard name to spell and I should have got an easier email, but I didn't, so I will include it in the show notes. I'm your host, Joel DiTrapani, and I'm the co-founder and co-CEO of Vigo, which is an edtech scale-up we've grown through Australia and the UK, and we're now focused on the US. On top of that, I'm an advisor and a coach in the product space where I help startups and businesses work out how to actually run great product teams, which subsequently helps them build great products. And today we have our first ever return guest. I actually had so much fun in my conversation that I immediately asked this guest on the back of the recording to come back on as soon as they had availability. So this is as soon as I had availability, I wanted to jump on another call with them. So today we're joined by Jason Cohen, who is just insanely good at building businesses. Jason has built 4 technology startups to more than $1 million in revenue. He sold 2 of them and is currently working at his 4th business, WP Engine, which has 200,000 customers and 1,200 employees. 2 of the businesses Jason has started are now worth over $1 billion. As I said last time, that is a resume that seems so good it's made up, but it's 100% true, which is so crazy. And on top of all of this...
Yeah, either
Jason
that or it means I'm old. It means I've been doing it a long time.
There's a lot of old people that haven't started $2 billion companies, Jason. But on top of all of this, Jason is also very active in the startup community as an angel investor and a writer. And I genuinely say this, and I believe that he's one of the only people that writes about startups that's actually worth reading because he's authentic about what he says. Jason really is an expert at building businesses in just about every aspect of it. So let's jump into it. Welcome, Jason. Thank you so much for coming back on today.
It's all very kind. Now let's prove it with amazing advice.
Let's prove it with amazing advice. Well, look, before we jump in, what are you working on at the moment? Where's all your effort going right now?
I'm at WP Engine, that 4th company you mentioned that's doing so well. It's been 13 years, and so we've gone through the whole scale thing, and every day about 8% of everybody on Earth visits one of our web properties. So it's quite big and quite exciting to be at there. So we're the anyway, but you don't want to know about that. You want to like hear advice about how to do stuff. And when you said all the mistakes we made, of course that's true, but also sometimes things work, and that's good too. In fact, maybe that's really good to know when things work, because sure, some of it might be luck, but sometimes it's bad luck that things don't work too. Yeah, so like you can learn a lot from when things went really well. You said, "Ooh, that's how to do that." So I mean, both.
Well, let's jump in and see if we can get some good luck in these questions. So, all right, pop quiz. Who do you think our sponsor is today? Correct. Absolutely 10 Joel points for you. It is Miro. Honestly, I think Miro is Do As I Say's favorite ever sponsor. So to tell you a bit more about them today, just as a reminder, because I'm pretty sure you already know this, but Miro is a visual collaboration tool where entire teams can come together to build on each other's ideas and to create meaningful products and projects together from anywhere in the world. They can bring together not just everyone in your team, but every kind of information and system that you use. They bring together a ton of different softwares into one place. So it doesn't matter what you use to manage your company. It doesn't matter what you use to manage your projects. It doesn't matter where the people are that you work with. Miro allows all of that to come together so you can have real collaboration with the information that you need. Now, speaking of information, does your startup have processes? It does? Of course it does. Every startup has processes. Well, you need Miro. We use Miro a lot to actually map out our processes. It's sometimes hard to work out exactly all of the pieces that come together to make a process work. So we like to map out how does each task link to the process? How does each element impact one another? But more importantly, how do you visualize how these processes work together? How all the different parts of your company interface and who they're actually impacting. So we use Miro a lot to actually map out the processes that we use to run our company, not just in our product, but operationally how to run a company. All of that is written for us or visualized within Miro, so we can see step by step how do we operate on a weekly cadence, a monthly cadence, a quarterly and annual planning cadence. But it's not just my startup who uses Miro. There's a small startup called Philips with tens of thousands of employees who love it too. And their chief engineer uses it a lot for mapping out their processes. So this is a direct quote from their chief engineer. In my case, I use Miro to visualize the assembly process of a new product to help determine the correct flow and to determine what is required and what challenges we actually face. So if it's good enough for Philips, it's definitely good enough for you. So get Miro, sign up today and get your first 3 Miro boards free forever. Sign up at miro.com/podcast, which is miro.com/podcast. Alright, that's it. Thank you, Miro, and let's jump back into the questions. This first challenge is called, I'm good at coding, but bad at marketing. What do I do? I'm a software engineer and finally decided to start a business. My startup is the app that will allow customers to build their own products, sites, apps, without knowledge of code. I will help and supervise the process, also provide feedback and deal with product drawbacks. The thing is, I don't know anything about marketing, and as I'm kind of a shy nerd, I don't have anybody to help me with it. Please give me hints on how to do my first steps with promotion and marketing. And this is from Official Dats.
Well, first of all, that's like almost everyone that makes a startup, software startup. This is like the most common thing. Why did you do the startup? Because you know how to code and you know you can make a product. You have a couple of ideas that are probably pretty good. So you did, because it's your side project. So first of all, it's the most common thing. So that's fine. Let's say it was reversed. Let's say you were a great marketer and you had an idea for a product and it's probably pretty good. But of course you can't write code. What should you do? You probably wouldn't tell that marketer, learn how to code for like 15 years so that you're really good at it and then start your startup. That's probably not what you would tell them. You would tell that marketer, oh, that's a whole skill set. That's a whole deep thing, and it will make or break your company. So you should get a co-founder who it will be as intense as you, as caring as you, will be as all in as you, and will do that half of the business. Now, engineers don't want to hear that on the other side because they think marketing is easy, sales is easy. It's, because Python is hard. It's AdWords that's easy. And so, and they have this complex that like the engineers know everything and can learn anything and everyone else cannot. And the more you meet people who are in fact amazing at these other things, the more you realize that you're wrong about that. Of course, you can do some things. You can learn some things, of course, right? But you just said you're introverted, Like, not only do you not have the skills, it's probably a bad fit for you anyway. Like, you probably don't even want to learn them. And it would not be comfortable for you to do it. So that's just a bad fit. And yet a business needs that. And in fact, at the second startup, my co-founder used to say, everyone here is either making something or getting rid of it, meaning sales and marketing. There's only two things, more product and get rid of the damn product for money. So, that's, one person's making product, the other person's getting rid of it is a pretty good system. So, a lot of people would say, and it's a fine advice, like, well, you should learn everything and do it, make yourself do it. And that is totally fine. Of course you can do that. Of course you can. But then why did you ask? Like, you can do that, and there's 800 books that's marketing for geeks, and that, and yet here you are asking, what do I do? So and also I'm an introvert, so like to me, it's hard when you can't ask the person, right? Because it's so hard to, it's not fair to put yourself in someone else's head. That's not right. But we don't have a choice because they're not here, so we'll have to try.
We make a lot of assumptions.
And it just sounds like someone who not only can't do it, doesn't want to. It's like, right. That's a good realization. That means you need a partner. Well, it could be somebody you hire. It could be a co-founder. It could be an employee. Could be a consultant, I guess. I just find that when the company's brand new, you have no money, and when you hire someone, they're probably not very good, especially not for the money. And so, perfectly fine advice to say, learn it on your own, do some stuff. That of course, that's true. But maybe the best chance for the company is to pair up with someone who's just like you, except opposite. And for marketing, like if you stared at you for a minute and then looked at a blank sheet of paper, this other person appears. Maybe that should be your partner because together you can cover all the bases.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I can't recommend having co-founders highly enough.
I've sold my first business. I did it with co-founders, and I would not have survived without them. That being said, Jason, you've done some with co-founders and some on your own, so you've managed to do it all. But yeah, I think.
Yeah, but there's two things. One is I mentioned the co-founder in my second company. He was really a mentor. It was really the situation I just said, except we had a third person because it was a hardware company as well.
Yeah.
So I was doing the embedded software, and the third person was doing the hardware, kind of a magician of hardware of soldering things together, and then there's business. And I learned so much. So first of all, I had a mentor for that to start with, and then secondly, I do that pretty well, and I do like doing it, and as you said, like I've been writing for years and years, and I like marketing. In fact, a lot of what I write about is marketing,
Yeah.
how to do marketing and sales for small companies, especially if you're an engineer. That's a lot of the topic that I write about, so I like that. So that's different. If you say like, oh my gosh, it'd be so fun to learn how to do marketing and sales, and I can't wait, and I love going to events. I just need tips, but like I love it. Then I would say have completely different advice. That's just not the vibe I got.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think having co-founders is the hack, like you don't have to do everything at the beginning. And I'd actually say, official DATs, you're actually in a pretty unique position. I think, Jason, you said, everyone, that's what everyone's like, they know how to engineer and then they build something. I actually don't think that's true. From the thousands of Reddit posts I've read at this point, I would say, you're a diamond in the rough here. Most people are marketing people. Like most founders are marketing people who don't know how to build shit. And they're just like, I had this exceptional idea. I just need someone to build it and then it's going to go massive. So, if you search Reddit or any networking event, there is like 1,000 people there that just want someone to build something for them because they have no idea how to do it and they've got no interest in learning how to build. So, there is an oversupply of people that could help you with this. So you can kind of choose, you've got something, you've got this, very desirable skill set and this very desirable, attitude and personality to actually build something because not many people want to take the plunge and do a startup. And so you've ticked a lot of boxes there. So I would agree with Jason. Go find someone.
Yeah, that's a good counterpoint that like actually there's a lot the other side. I think I'm biased toward the people that I usually talk to on Twitter who are, so I think you're right. I think you're exactly right. Now the other problem is how do you do this? This is like getting married because I saw a post they had on Reddit. Bad reason to get married, right? And it is. And
they said they wanted to get married, so we did.
It's also the leading cause of startup failure is founder strife.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal. So like often the story that works is the one that's, yeah, we both worked at wherever, and so we knew we really liked each other and got along and had already worked together. They're like, let's do this together. We got real excited. That's different because you have a relationship, even a working relationship, and it's still, I guess you could say, a risk, but I mean that's the right risk. Random people, it's hard. So I don't have any magic advice for like how you find a co-founder and vet them, and other than trying stuff together or that. Often the answer, often the story is, we work together and not, we met on Reddit. So that is a toughie.
Yeah, I agree. If there's someone in your network that you can go to, that you feel like you have the confidence and that they've got the same level of risk appetite and ambition to make this something, like absolutely go there. But if you don't have that luck, you're just going to have to start meeting as many people as you can, and it doesn't just have to be off Reddit.
Yeah, but they're an introvert; they don't want to do that.
That's true, but I feel like you don't only get to do what you want in a startup. Sometimes you have to do things that are outside of your comfort zone so that you don't have to do everything outside of your comfort zone. True. So I guess let's wrap this one up, and I'll bring this one to a final judgment here. So it sounds like we're saying official DATs, you don't have to learn marketing on your own. If you want to, you're more than welcome to. As Jason said, there are books and books and books about this. And even Jason's blog has a lot of information about this. But if you're interested in this, that's totally fine. But if you're not, that's also okay. You don't have to go and become an expert marketer overnight. You're an expert builder. Just focus on building and go out and focus on building the team here. Go and find someone to complement you who is, as Jason said, exactly like you, but also not like you at all, who can counterbalance with the marketing and the other kind of skill sets you need. Because to build a startup, you need a balanced set of skills. You need the building and you need the selling. You need the getting rid of. But yeah, so go find someone. If they're in your network, great. If not, do the uncomfortable thing and just meet a shitload of people until you find the right person. And it's going to suck if you don't like it, but it will be way better than having your business just go nowhere. Anything I missed there, Jason?
No, that's it.
All right. Well, official dats, you have been advised. Right back if you find a marketing person. All right. Question number 2. I'm actually a little bit nervous to ask you this one, Jason, because when we first had dinner, someone brought up AI, and you said, "Can we just go 20 minutes without talking about AI?"
Right, exactly. We can talk about AI. It's okay.
But AI is coming into
But
the
yes,
podcast.
that is my general feeling.
All right, so this challenge is called, how do you use AI to improve your startup? I've been fascinated by the potential benefits of integrating AI into startups and would love to hear about some real-world examples of how AI has improved various aspects of your business. Do you use it frequently or at all? Personally, we use GPT-4 and Surfer AI to get past data from our competitors and learn about their performance and optimize our content. This has been useful in finding negative aspects of our idea. I also use AI to make lists of possible cons. But back to my original question. How do you use AI to actually improve your startup, specifically for businesses that aren't AI-centric themselves? Just looking for some creative use cases. Thanks, from Alternative Frame 620.
Well, so the first thing to keep in mind is that AI is... The goal isn't to use AI. The goal is you're building this company. The goal is to find customers. The goal is to understand them enough that you're making something they want. The goal is to have the right pricing. The goal is to deliver features people will really pay for. The goal is to have some kind of competitive advantage. The goal, just the regular goals are the goals. Using AI is not a goal. It might be a means to an end. So the first thing I would do is really always be asking, as you always should, what are the next one or two really important things I've got to accomplish? Like in the last call, it's there's no risk at all that I can't build this thing. The problem is I can't get rid of it, and that's the thing to work on. Then that's just the thing to focus on. If AI can help you with that somehow, then you should use AI. If it can't, you should not use. Then you shouldn't worry about that. You should fix you should just address that. So. The person already listed some things. Almost anything you do, you could use AI to help with. I've used it today to remember how to, which functions in BigQuery do a certain thing. I use it as a really good thesaurus, because you can ask, rewrite this thing 10 ways as opposed to give me 10 synonyms. And usually no one of the 10 is just right, but often there's some snippet or piece ooh, I like that second half, or ooh, that gave me this idea. And it can really help with that ideation or writer's block. I think if you're a bad writer, then it's especially good, because you can sort of just paste it in and it just rewrites it in a way that's probably means the same thing, but written way better. You could maybe just edit it slightly if it doesn't mean the right thing, and you're already, way better off. Summarizing stuff like that person said, especially if there's data dumps you can get, dumping an S1 in there and then asking some questions can be pretty handy if that's the kind of research you're doing. Just there's a million things, and again, as usual, you can't throw a rock without hitting a million articles about, oh, you can use AI to do this. I don't feel like I know startups that are doing way better because of AI. It's stuff like what I'm saying. It's these little, or like the person said, there's this one thing this task was a little better, right? Or it was a little faster, or a little better than would have been, which is cool. That's a productivity tool, and that's cool. I don't know anyone that's saying, I figured out a feature no one else had because of AI. I won sales because of AI that I wouldn't have won otherwise. My marketing message is better because of AI. I have not heard that yet. Now, that doesn't mean it can't happen. It's just that's not widespread right now. That's not what's going on. So this is part of why I'm not skeptical about the future of AI. I'm not skeptical at all about the future, but I do think the insistence that there's magic things that could be happening with AI, or that it'll transform things and solve the fundamental problems we have right now. That's not what it's doing. So for me, at least, it's I just use it as I think a lot of people, I often go there before Google search. I definitely use it for things like coding and like writer's block or that kind of stuff. It can probably help speed up things like, write 10 tweets about this. And again, they won't be great, but you probably get 3 or 4 out of your own head a lot faster that way. So yeah, all those productivity things, sure. But man, I don't think it's going to transform your business right now.
Yeah, I love that original sentiment, which is the problems are still the problems. Focus on the right stuff in your business. AI, this big the AI kind of thing, like whatever that really means in the sense of your business, it's just a new technology, or like a newly available, better technology than it ever has been in the past. But it's been getting better for a long time. But I do feel like some people get very excited and they're just like, we need to do an AI. But it's like saying like, we need to use the internet. It's like, yes, correct. But that's not your business. It's a way of enabling the products that you sell. It's the problems that you solve. And I just think more than ever, it's so key to really focus on problem market fit. Is the problem that you're solving actually sellable? Is it valuable enough for someone to pay for that? And use AI in your journey to make it possible, to make it better. That should be the number one focus, always, for every founder. Every productivity hack pales in comparison to, is your problem actually worth solving? Is your market growing or dying? Is there a tailwind that you can ride? But as far as productivity goes, I love using different AI tools in my own day-to-day work. I would say it has dramatically increased the quality of some areas of my work, but it's not like I produce 10x more now. I just say some areas that I do, like writing. I don't love writing. Using AI helps me get something on the page. I never use what AI gives me though. I never use it because I think it's like, it sounds robotic. It's amazing what it can do, but it still sounds robotic. It doesn't sound like me. So I start there and then I can work from that. I heard someone explain it, and I don't know who explained this, but they called it the Chipotle rule, which is, when you're with a group of friends and you're all trying to organize where to go for dinner. If someone just says, where do you want to go for dinner? Someone's like, oh, I don't really know what I feel like. But if someone just says, let's go to Chipotle, everyone's like, no, let's not go to Chipotle. Like, let's go here instead. And it's more decisive because it starts, because everything's better than Chipotle as their option for dinner with a group of friends. And I like using AI like that, as a creative writing tool. I also love it for Google Sheets. I write any of my I guess like functions in Google Sheets 10 times faster than I did before. I also just dedicate an entire screen in my work setup to ChatGPT all of the time, because I just try and think about everything I'm doing. Is there a way I can do this better in AI? Is there a way that ChatGPT can make this faster for me? Most of the time there's not, but sometimes there is. Sometimes there are ways where I was like, I actually got a much better outcome because I decided to use an AI assistant with me today. And then lastly, it's just fun. I love it. For the thumbnails for the podcast, I use Leonardo.ai because it makes a cool background that I couldn't have made on my own, or I just use the new tools because I'm interested in it. But I think, we're on the precipice of it becoming, it's the worst it will ever be. It's just going to continue to get better. And I love investing time and energy into it because I think it's fun. And because it's fun, I start to get, more outcomes and better in different ways. But I'd say that the number one thing that I've seen the biggest productivity in my team is Copilot in the IDE. I think is the tool that it's called, that our developers use. So there's like a Copilot for anyone who's not a software engineer. I'm not. That it just helps them write code a whole lot faster and debug a whole lot faster. And our engineering team has definitely become significantly faster since actively using that.
But I mean, millions of people use it. That's probably not what they're asking about, but that's definitely true. I mean, to me, just to underscore this point of like, you need to solve the real problems you have, and it may be AI. Let's say the problem that you have, or a problem that you have, is you're being overwhelmed with tech support because you're starting to scale and your hiring hasn't kept up. And anyway, it would be nice if your costs didn't scale quite so fast. Could AI help with that? Oh, that sounds like yes. Or at least if you were to experiment or try to do that, that makes a lot of sense because it's applied to a problem you have. On the other hand, let's suppose you haven't found product market fit yet, you're not scaling yet, you just get a few customer contacts a day. I think using AI to answer them would be counterproductive because you need to be understanding your customers better. You need to be talking to them. This is one of the few times you have to talk to your customers about anything. So you need to do that. You even if you can twist a support chat into a product discovery thing now and then, that's a huge win. So using the same kind of AI there, I think would actually make your business worse because it would prevent you from understanding about your customers. So that's what I mean by focusing on, being really clear on what it is that you need to do now. And if AI can help with that, then God, absolutely do that. Otherwise, you're getting distracted from what you need to do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. So let's bring this one down to a final judgment. So I feel like where we've landed is focus on real problems. Whether that's, the problems that you're solving for your customers or the problems that you're facing internally, like, thousands of support tickets. And where it makes sense, use AI to solve those problems. But it's using AI to solve problem. It's not that AI is the outcome. It's never the outcome. It's a tool that you can use in your business where it makes sense to solve a real problem. And I guess that's it. Just don't forget that, use it to solve real problems. And where you can, it will be amazing. But there's no tools that, that just radically overnight make your business 10 times more valuable. Maybe a few months ago in the investment world, it made your business, 2 or 3 times more valuable just to have AI in your name. but that kind of excitement has definitely died down over the last few months, and investors are really seeing where it makes sense to have AI. Anything we missed there, Jason?
No, that's it.
All right. You've been advised Alternative Frame 620. And moving on to our last question for the day. This is called, can a startup succeed without spending money on marketing? I know there are always outliers. Some companies that don't spend a dime, and that some that spend billions, or some that spend millions, but for the in-between startups that have a good product, solve a problem, and did all their due diligence, and are now at the launch stage, does it really make a difference to read some books, hand out flyers, make an Instagram page, and whatever else people do if you're not going to spend any money on marketing? Should a business go seek marketing funding instead of launching? What would be the pragmatic approach to launching with no cash be besides hard work? So many people tell stories of their businesses failing to attract anyone because they lack financial resources to market it, and they'll see someone else with an inferior product excel because they had the cash. What's the honest answer? Can a business be successful without having the funds to support their launch in today's world? From Diane. This person actually had a very inappropriate name, so I just changed it to Diane.
Can you be successful? I think, of course, you can always find people who are. I'm always a little bit suspicious when people say things like, "I didn't spend any money on marketing," because then I find stuff like, "Oh, you're on Twitter for 3 hours a day. You're on Reddit. There's forums. You have a blog. You've been working on this newsletter for 10 years." So when you say you never spend any money on marketing, what do you mean exactly? Like, no money, just thousands of my own hours, which I'm valuing at $0.
Yeah.
So if you could be asking, can you do it without direct spend? Which is a different question.
Yeah.
The answer is obviously yes. You can see examples all over the place. I think we all know what all the marketing channels are nowadays. Is there any mysteries of what the marketing channels are? You have direct spend like Google ads and other ads. You have the sort of pay-for-performance direct spend like affiliates. You obviously have a bunch of stuff that still costs a lot of time and money depending on how you measure that, like but is not direct, like SEO and social media, word of mouth, events, like. So I mean I think these are all known, and of course there's companies, you can find companies who have used any of these channels to be successful. So I think what may be a better question is, if the idea is I have no money but I do have time, what should I do for marketing? That's a better question, because some things cost time and not so much direct spend. And so that's stuff like social media, making newsletters, or affiliates where it's pay for performance, because you do pay them, but only if you get customers, which means you have the cash, which means it works. So that's an interesting one that may appear like it costs money, but it doesn't cost you cash flow. So it's good. On that note, since it's an interesting one, often you're paying them after some period because it's making sure the customer actually sticks for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, or it's via credit card or something like that. And so you have some time, which means usually you charge the customer immediately when they show up, and then you pay the affiliate later, which means you really do have the cash. That's important for that zero cash flow. It also is a reason why you should have annual plans. Because when people pay for 12, or let's say 10 months up front for 12, right? Because that's the discount rate or whatever. Then you have all this cash, and you can pay something like an affiliate. You can also pay direct ads. So the more annual you can get, the more prepay you can get, the more you actually can self-fund direct ads that you thought you couldn't afford. Just wanted to say, like, it's a really important point of like, because again, if the real question here is, I don't have any money, how do I market? Then things like having annual plans actually answers that, even though it's for direct spend, even though it's direct. So, there's stuff like SEO. I just feel like that's a long-term play. It takes a long time to get going. There's no guarantee it'll work. There's no guarantee it'll stay once it's there. I know there's a ton of people who say SEO is how you should do it. I'm just really skeptical, especially now when the internet's completely full. That's and again, someone's going to write in and say like, I did with this and it was great, because of course you're right. Of course there is no rule. There's no hard and fast rule where there's no exceptions. But I just feel like it's a huge slog with that's like the least in your control of all things. And I mean, I would rather even just try to get a Twitter following than try to get ranked on SEO for any keyword worth anything. Like, it just sounds impossible nowadays. So newsletters are probably one of the strongest things. The problem is these things all take time. So they're really valuable over time, but they're almost valueless for a while, like years. So it's not really a great way to get started to quote unquote advertise. I think events can be great because you're going with people already are, especially if it's in person and you're a new vendor. People are like, oh, who are you? Because they've seen the other people before. So they may want to say hi to their friends, but it's not that interesting. So when you're the new booth in an existing conference, that can be really surprisingly good, where you get lots of conversations, get to talk to a lot of customers. It can be actually pretty good. Obviously that doesn't scale, but just to get some leg up, that can be good. You can also think about what some people call market selection, which means who is your customer? What kind of customer have you decided to go after? So, like, one of the nice things about being in WordPress, like I am, is the people in WordPress talk to each other a lot. Like, they go to WordCamps, there's all these different forums, they talk to each other online a lot, they write blogs a lot because it's WordPress, so a lot of them are bloggers and are interacting with each other that way. A lot of them have known each other for 10 years plus, and so they're just friends and talk about everything. And so it is a community of people, legitimately, and people who talk. So that makes it easier because it helps with the word of mouth if it's already a thing where people talk. Whereas there's other industries where that's not the case, and then it's a lot harder to like get quote unquote get the ball rolling with word of mouth because it's not naturally like that. So again, I would really go to like, do you really mean that, or do you really mean you don't have extra cash, which is like most self-funding companies? Because then there's different activities you would do. And then are you selecting the product or customer segment or something to where things like word of mouth or social media are things people in your market do, so that doing that reaches them? Or is it, if it's like in an old mature industry that's not very technical, like manufacturing or something, those same things might not reach anybody. And so whereas, Twitter or something might be great for a media thing, it might be completely useless for a manufacturing company or a certain cohort of customers. So I think you've got to match that up as well. So it's understandable, but the person themselves said, I've seen over and over again, great products that don't get sold, and products that get sold really well that are just mediocre, they do get sold. That's right. So fundamentally, I do think that that's right. It's unfortunate, but true, that often good marketing and sales wins. Often, not always, but often. That is true. And so if you're like, well, I don't want to do that. Again, I think you have to match it to your circumstance, and really get at what you mean when you're saying that, because different channels might be available to you that you're not thinking about.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I think that is what this person is asking, because they say in the question, should I go seek marketing funding instead of launching? And I actually just don't think that's possible. That's not a real question because I don't think that's an option you have. Like,
That's right.
If you're really sitting there and you're saying we could just launch or we could go get funding, you actually can't get funding. You cannot get funding unless you have traction. So your only option is to go and launch. So really that boils down into like, well, what can you do? And if you don't have the cash to market, you don't have the cash to market, then what options do you have at your disposal? And like you said, Jason, there's a lot of stuff you can do. Some stuff's slow, some stuff's fast, but it is all very product dependent. And without knowing anything about this company, the broad strokes advice I would give is that if you're a B2B business, just do cold outreach. You can get emails for free on the internet and everyone has LinkedIn. So cold outreach and direct sales is going to be how you start to get your traction, start to get your initial customers, and then you can use that money, as Jason said, to start to fund other marketing activities. But use all of those initial sales calls and sales outreach and business development as product development. Because even though you've got a product that's about ready to go, it's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. It's a good start, but you're going to need iteration and iteration and iteration until it's something that really is going to be able to scale. So if it's in the B2B world or the enterprise world, just start by doing cold outreach. And then whether it's B2B or consumer, I think events makes a whole lot of sense, like you said, Jason. You can go to events like local events or big conferences. You can do that all pretty cheap. If you can afford a stall, great. But even if you can't, just go there, hit up every single person, have every single conversation, wear a shirt. There's a lot of ways to get in front of people's faces and to capture their attention. And then as you start to do that, if you can't sell one-on-one your consumer platform, then marketing is not going to help you. You need to get your messaging really clear. But I think the only answer here is that you're just going to have to put the direct time in. If you don't have the cash, do all these ideas that Jason said. Affiliate marketing, where you get the cash up front and you don't have to pay anything. Event style marketing, growing a Twitter following, just anything you can use any kind of resource you have at your disposal. Like anyone in your network that has a newsletter, like ask them for that. So, but a business can't succeed without marketing effort. And like Jason said, no business succeeds without that, or he's suspicious, and I'm very suspicious too. I think Elon says that he doesn't market Tesla. That's not true. He is the greatest marketer of all time. It's just that he is the brand, and he posts on Twitter or X, 500 times a day, and the most controversial shit. And that's why it works, because he's famous, and he also has a great product that people want to buy. So use your time, trade your time for customers. I think that's the only option that you have there.
Yeah, I mean, and overall, this is one of those. How do I get a customer? Is one of these questions people have been asking forever. So there's not going to be a simple answer. Oh, it's easy to get customers. You just do this one simple thing. That'll never be the answer, unfortunately. It's hard. And one other thing to just think about is like crowdfunding. Like if you need the money and etc. Do the Indiegogo or the whatever. Try to market that rather than the product. That's an interesting way. It's also an interesting way to test. Like it sounds like you already have a product, but if you're pre-product and you have just an idea, that's a really interesting way to go. Because first you gauge whether you can get people to go there and buy it. You gauge that first before you've invested all your time in making it. Then if it's successful, it's worth making it, because if you got them to do it, you'll get more people to do it, so it's worth doing it. And you have some cash, which maybe you need to build it, maybe you could use to market it. So that's another interesting way. And really, that just means sell it before building it, instead of building it and then wonder how to sell it. You're going to have to do both if the company's successful. And I think what a lot of people do, and as you pointed out, not everyone, but what some people do is they work on the thing that seems more fun instead of the thing that's more risky or more unlikely to succeed. It's pretty sure you can build whatever you thought, because engineers can build things. But the marketing side and getting customers, really, it's not even marketing, it's just getting customers. That's the part where almost no one is successful at that. So that's the thing to de-risk first, right? If you build like I know you're going to build a product. I'm not trying to make it sound like it's trivial, but that's probably not the problem. The problem is you can't get customers, and you wait too long, and you've already spent all this time, maybe even spent money building it, when that's probably not what the company's going to fail at.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll bring this under a close and we'll get a final judgment here. So, first thing is, Diane, it's not about getting funding or launching. It's that they aren't really the options here. The options are, how are you going to market this product? Because early in the career, early in the startup journey, you don't have the ability to just go and get a shitload of funding unless a multi-time founder where you've done it before. But if you had done that, you probably wouldn't be asking these questions. So let's just assume it's your first one. That's not really an option. So focus on the launch. Focus on doing a really good job and work out how you can trade your time for customers and your team's time for customers. Whether that's events or affiliate marketing or building a social presence or just a ton of cold outreach. That's where you have to start to get that initial flow, to get those initial customers and that initial money, which then you can start to pour into marketing to grow and grow and grow on top of that. And there is no silver bullet because every business needs to grow in a different way. Some people have success at events. Some people, like Discord, got pretty massive early on because they posted on Reddit at the right time in the right community, and that worked for them. So just find the path that works for you. And that is going to require a lot of experimentation. Anything missed there, Jason?
One thing is, both of you said, and I agreed, raising money to get marketing, and I haven't launched yet, is not an option, but we didn't say why not. And just the real brief reason is investors get to sit back and watch all the entrepreneurs try all their crap, and most of it's not working, and they can just sit back and wait. And sometimes, and you could say it's all luck, that's fine, I don't know, through dint of work or effort or luck or all of it probably. Oh, look, there's a shoot. There's a little green shoot. And they're getting traction and people are buying it and it just seems to be working. And even if it's totally luck, an investor can simply wait for the green shoot and say, that's the one I'll invest in. They just don't need to invest in anything else. So they can afford to wait. So the question is there enough green shoots for the investor to deploy all the money they want? And the answer is yes. So the problem is, you're like, I haven't launched yet, I have no customers, I'll raise money. No, because the investor can simply has enough choices of people who already are getting revenue and some evidence that people want it, and they can simply do that because it's less risky for them. And it's not because they're evil, they're just picking something that has less risk on it because those questions have already started to be answered. It's just less risky. So that's why, in an environment like now, where it's hard to get funding anyway because interest rates are high and people are holding onto their money, they can really afford to wait for something with more traction. Not because you're bad or wrong or your company's wrong, not for that reason. And not even because the other company's necessarily better. Nobody knows. But just because it's got more evidence right now and they can do that. And it's just logical. And it's not unethical either. It's just sort of an obvious thing to do.
Yeah. An investor's job is to make money. And they've got to, reduce risk where they can. And when there's probably hundreds of thousands of people starting businesses, why not just choose the ones
that one seems to be working, I'll invest in that one. Why? Of course,
Yeah. Yeah. And then if you have more traction, they'll probably just invest in you afterwards as well.
Oh, for sure. But you got to get over this hump, and I definitely appreciate that. I just wanted to sort of explain why is it that we're like, no way. Why do we just dismiss that? And there's a good reason.
Yeah. Traction is key. Absolutely key. Well, we'll close that one out. Diane, you have been advised. And next time, pick a cleaner name, and we'll say the whole name on the podcast. All right. The last section, plugs. Now, I keep saying this is the audience favorite section. I have no data to back that up, but I just feel like it's the audience favorite section. So what's going on, Jason? What do you want to plug today?
Well, I'll just be selfish and say I'm a smart bear on Twitter, like the animal, a smart bear, and it's asmartbear.com is the blog that you mentioned and I mentioned. So that's it. There's no ads. I don't even have Google Analytics. I got no tracking, no ads, just 16 years of writing, and I continue to write things because I like it, and you're not bothered by any other stuff.
I love it. I would personally recommend too. I love it, and I'll put those links in the description too. And then on my side, my turn to be selfish is that like and subscribe. Get out your phone right now, hit like, hit subscribe, 5 stars, go on every platform, find the podcast on all of them, and show the support. And then, as I always say, don't just do it on your phone, steal a phone. I fully condone it. Go take someone else's phone, like and subscribe on their phone too, any of your friends' phones. They'll love it if you download it on theirs too. And then thank you to everyone who writes in. We love your problems. We love your questions. If you have any questions that you want us to answer on the podcast, we have really smart people on here all the time. Send them through to podcast@joeltrapani.com. And then lastly, I've included the booking link. So if you want to have a conversation, talk me through the problems you're having in your business, particularly around product. I love talking about that kind of stuff. I love meeting you guys. Book some time with me. I'd be super excited to have a conversation. So let's wrap this one up. Jason, mate, thank you so much for coming back on a second time. It was fun to give you a completely different set of questions today. I absolutely loved it. Thank you for arguing and laughing with me today. I've loved the conversation. This has been another episode of the Do As I Say, Not As I Did podcast. We'll see you next week.